But let me tell you, we are a small country. But we are big on justice. And some of those are big and powerful countries, but they are very small on justice. They have no lessons to teach anyone, because they are part of this history that saw over 1 million of our people perish. They are the cause. And the Rwandans just executed, killed their fellow Rwandans. But the history of that originated where we all know.
So, in one particular event, in one particular conference, we had the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. He made such an important speech that I say is very, very important. He was talking about the types of government in the whole world, the types of government in Africa. And one interesting thing that he said is that the world is ruled by hypocrisy. We don't have democracy. People from the West might call out Africa to be undemocratic. People from the West or any other African countries can look at Rwanda and say that Rwanda is not a democratic country. So what are the criteria and what really makes it right, or what really qualifies to be called a democracy? A democracy, you know? So Paul Kagame gave an important analogy where he talked about the US, the United States of America, calls itself a democratic country. However, itself it's practicing democracy, alleged democracy, but it forces other types of governments. It forces dictatorship. It supports coups in other African countries, or not even African countries. It does these coups in other world countries. We have the war in Vietnam. We have the war in South America. We have the situations that were busy happening in the west of Africa. We have a situation that had been happening in South Africa up until 1994. We have the situation in Libya. Name it all. Just name it all. People are quick to say democracy, 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 when it's not favoring their interest, you know. Paul Kagame, by any means or form, he is not somebody who is a saint, but he's not fully a villain also. He's not 100% saint, he's not 100% villain. There is some point that we can gather from him. Even Hitler himself, Hitler the dictator, had some interesting things about him. Without Hitler, there would be no... Without Hitler, things would have turned out different. Hitler suppressed the British, Hitler suppressed the French, Hitler suppressed the Spanish, Hitler suppressed the Portuguese, he suppressed those allied powers. The NATO, he suppressed the NATO. You know, that's the significance of having someone who is busy called a dictator. And these people who are calling themselves the people who are democratic are not really democratic. So without further ado, first of all, I think we need to understand what is democracy. And now let's listen to what the President Paul Kagame has to say, and then I'll share with you my thoughts towards the end of the video, where we will have a deep critical analysis of the situations happening in Rwanda, happening in Africa. And is the world really held or really ruled? Is the world really democratic, or is it just, or is democracy a hypocritical term to conceal our intents? So let's dive into the video.
There are three systems that govern the world. One is the so-called democracy. The other is what they call autocracy. The third in between, that is silent, that is powerful, is that of hypocrisy. Three systems: democracy, autocracy, in between, the most powerful, very silent, effective, and that is hypocrisy. But for us, we've learned our lessons. We will carry the names anyone is going to give us. I have no problem with that. But the lesson we have learned, and the lesson of things we knew anyway from the beginning, some of us, is that it doesn't matter how far you go from here, thousands, tens of thousands of kilometers, you are not going to find people that are more important or have more important lives than us, than we are. No, there are no more important people anywhere than we are. There are no such more important lives than ours. Much as our lives were destroyed, were wasted. That's what I meant when I said the powerful are powerful, they are big, but small on justice. They even talk about freedoms. And yet, as we know, they create false stories about a people, about Rwanda, about genocide. And when you argue with the facts and you want to present facts that actually they also know, there is that power to tell everyone not to give you space to express your opinion, to answer back, to argue. And yet they are the same people who will start accusing others of lack of freedom to express themselves. What I'm talking about is not an old story in terms of when it last happened. No, it happens even today. You find a renowned newspaper in some powerful place, falsifying stories about us, about Rwandans, about the genocide, about our history. And when somebody wants to say, look, that's not correct. This is what it is. These are facts. You know, you'll find it's like they have agreed among themselves, all channels through which you could have communicated or placed a reply, not to listen to you, because they want to have what they are playing, the only thing playing in everybody's ears. But make no mistake, in this land of ours, small as it is, it has no small people. Like we did in the past, guided by the truth, by what is right, and it did not use the means we had, the possibility we had, to kill those who killed our people. You know, you can imagine people who even doubt our justice system. Then you have Rwanda in our constitution, in our set of laws, having abolished death sentence, death penalty. Some of these powerful countries still hang people or electrocute them. They do that. In fact, for us to have even thought about abolishing the death penalty at a time we had so many people to justifiably hang. And these people miss that point. They miss the point that we are actually a country of justice, a country of laws. We believe in the rule of law. Because if we didn't, why do we do all these things? There is no amount of pressure. Let no one tell you lies. This we did ourselves. It's not because anybody influenced us or put pressure on us, and because who would put pressure on us when they are the ones doing the same thing? In any case. And then we have even people we have forgiven who were associated with this. What happened that we heard from in the testimony. People who were part of that, continuing to be part of that, even now, and forget that we have actually forgiven them. So they are forgiven. They had been tried by the courts, found guilty, so many years. In the middle of serving their sentence, we forgive them. Next, these are the people supposed to bring to Rwanda democracy. It's a joke. And you are doing it in a wrong place, in a place that understands many things about us, our limitations, but our power to defend and protect this land and the people of this land. So, the very reasons that what we suffered, what we endured here, originated from there, is the reason they cannot give us peace. They want to cover up their responsibility. They want to cover up their silence. When the millions of people here in Rwanda needed them to speak out, to speak up, to come to their help. Those people who go around talking nonsense every day, they should take a moment and remember a situation like this we are talking about today. That in actual fact also remember that it has produced different people in this land. Our children, our grandchildren, we have a duty to make sure they understand this and they are there for this land, for the people of this land. Well, but we also know many things, including our limitations. We have no power to stop it or to prevent it. But to have the power to confront it. It happens every day. But this gives us, some of us, a good opportunity to remind people of all this. Yeah, imagine people could not even, I think to be fair, the majority of the people in this world recognize what happened here and give it the name it should be called. Again, but there are others who say, no, but you see, it's only not Tutsis who died, it's also others. I mean, first of all, you're just saying the obvious. In that situation, what you're saying is obvious. But I think here we're talking about something else. When people are, everybody knows here, or those who want to know, there are people who are called cockroaches here. Cockroaches, the name cockroach was reserved for a specific group of people. No. So, and when they were killing cockroaches. This is what they were saying. So they were saying it publicly. So to say that it was a genocide targeting Tutsis, how can it be wrong? How can it be questioned? How can it be argued about? Unless you have something else, another problem.
The West can sometimes be unbelievable, hypocritical. I don't know the word to call them. For an instance, the 1994 genocide that took place in Rwanda does not qualify to be called a human rights violation, because when you dig deep, you find that the real perpetrators who are involved are the people from the West. You know, any bad thing that is happening in Africa at a large scale usually involves the intervention of the white people. That is something that happens. The white people who are the West perpetrators, who are the West puppeteers, you know, they install their puppets here, and these puppets remotely run their activities here in Africa. You know, and also Paul Kagame is saying that these people do not qualify. They really do not qualify to be the stewards of justice. They don't, because they preach wine and take water. How can you preach democracy when you don't know even how it is? Your countries, you do not apply the same. You know, you caused thousands of deaths in Kigali, Rwanda. You caused thousands of deaths in Congo, DRC. You caused thousands of deaths in Somalia. You caused thousands of deaths in South Africa. You caused thousands of deaths in West Africa. And then you call yourself the steward of justice. When any African country is trying to grow, you say that they are not democratic. You call them, you know, bad names. How do I call it? Dictators. No. I think Paul Kagame is right by calling out these things, because it's high time Africans we let go. We forget, because these people are not stewards. They have no lessons they can teach Africans. They really do not have lessons they should teach Africans. And maybe we should look at these types of governments and how they're implemented. According to Paul Kagame, it is democracy, another one he said, and hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is a concealment of other forms of government that call itself democracy, which is not really democratic. People like Paul Kagame, presidents like Paul Kagame, have to come and stand forward and speak. Africans, we need to teach ourselves our own lessons. We don't need the West to come here and teach us the lessons. No, we ourselves can teach ourselves. We don't need anyone else to teach us. Africans, we had our own laws before the white person came. So let's discuss the types of government, and then let's see. Now, to fully understand the depth of what Paul Kagame has said, it is important that we understand the root and who brought about types of governance. So, according to this article, Aristotle was the first to define the three principles or the types of governments in the 4th century BC, before Christ. This consisted of monarchy, aristocracy, and policy. You know, since then, many more have been formulated, but the main themes and ideas have remained. Today, the 5 most common government systems include democracy, republic, monarchy, communism, and dictatorship. You see, so let's look at these types of government, and then we can conclude if truly we have democracy, or is it just other forms of government calling themselves democratic. And I want you to answer that using your mind. So the 5 types of governments are these, the 5 types of government that evolved out of Aristotle's 3 principles of governance, you know, which were monarchy, aristocracy, and polity. So first one is democracy. A democracy, first, as it was stated by the American statesman and one of the best presidents that the United States ever had, he said that democracy is a government of the people, and a government for the people. So democracy can be defined as a government system with supreme power placed in the hands of the people. It can be traced back to as early as the 5th century BC. In fact, the word democracy is Greek for people's power. While most use the United States as an example of democratic government system, the United States actually has what is called representative democracy. The difference lies in the method of civilian participation. In a direct democracy, every citizen is given an equal say in the government. In a representative democracy, citizens elect representatives who make the law. The difference is significant when put into action. Other examples of democratic states include the island of Aruba, we have Bulgaria, we have Canada, Costa Rica, and the Dominican Republic. So the United States is not really using the democratic policy. They are somehow called the representative democracy. They are using people to represent the interest of other people, and these people are so corrupt. Remember what Kissinger did. Remember what the horrors that Kissinger did. It's very, very unthoughtful and very, very... You can't even imagine somebody do that to such people. They call themselves democratic, but they do very bad things to other people in other parts of the world. Is that really democracy? Because I don't think it's democracy. It's not democracy. Democracies should extend. Democracy should be your beliefs, not where you are geographically located. You should walk with it. That's how I understand democracy. And so for the second part, let's talk about the republic. So let's look at the republic form of government. In a republic government system, the power also rests with the people, as they are in charge of electing or choosing the country's leader. Instead, the leader being appointed or inheriting power. Broadly defined, a republic is a government system without a monarch. A republic may be governed by a group of nobles as long as there is not a single monarch. Some examples of countries with a republic government system include Argentina, Bolivia, Czech Republic, and France. So these countries are practicing what we call republic. France is practicing republic, but it's forcing people to practice democracy. At least you should tell people to practice what you also do, not forcing something that you find hard for you to do, and you want other people to do it, but you yourself, you find it hard. This is hypocrisy. These are very big hypocrisy on another level. Another thing is the monarch. In a monarchy, the state power is held by a single family that inherits rule from one generation to the next. In a monarchy, an individual from the royal family holds the position of power until they die. Today, the majority of monarchy governments have transitioned to constitutional monarchies, where the monarch is the head of state, but only performs ceremonial roles and does not have state power. Only a few countries in the world still have systems where the monarch still retains control. These include Brunei, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and Swatini, which is also known as Swaziland. The fourth type of government that is controlling this world. Now we have communism as the fourth one. A communist government is a government in which the system is usually based on a particular ideology of communism taught by Karl Marx or Vladimir Lenin. A single party or group of people usually runs a communist state. In some cases, citizens of a communist state are given certain jobs or life duties in an effort to obtain collective citizenship for the state. Examples of communist states include China, Cuba, and Vietnam. Also, we have Russia. Russia is practicing communism, or rather socialism, which Julius Malema wants to introduce to South Africa. The fifth one is the most common one, but it's hidden under the name of democracy. The fifth one is dictatorship. In a dictatorship government, a single person who is called a dictator has absolute power, total power over his subjects. It is not necessarily ruled by a theology or belief. It is an authoritarian form of government where one person is in charge of enforcing and acting the law. Aspects often include military organizational backing and fair election if we have any election, and various human rights violation. A dictator does not usually inherit their power like a monarch does. They either seize control of the state by force or through unfair elections, which is something very common with the African countries. Dictators are not held accountable for their action and thus are free to do as they please. These include limiting citizens' rights. Examples of dictatorship government are Burundi, we have Chad, we have Equatorial Guinea, we have North Korea, and contemporary examples of country run by a dictator. Now, one thing you need to know is this. While these types of governments still all vary, they have at least one similarity: the allocation of power. Whether it be the allocation of power to a single person, a group of people, or evenly distributed to everyone, power is shared theme to all types of governance. Now, what Paul Kagame is talking about is the double standards that the West are having. They're hypocritical. There's no word to replace that. They're hypocritical by any means and form, you know. You can't be telling us to practice democracy while what you're doing somewhere else is not democracy. It's good that presidents such as Paul Kagame are able to stand up and speak for the rights of Africans, you know. They come here complaining that African leaders are not democratic, that we should remove them and put people who will accept them. No. If a leader refuses to be a puppet, they find a label to give them. They give them a fake identity. For Paul Kagame, there's been a lot of allegations of people have been missing, journalists have been missing. CCTV is everywhere in Rwanda. I don't know why there's a lot of CCTV. I don't know what the president is scared of. But when there's so much security, there's something you're truly, truly protecting. You're either protecting yourself or you're protecting your secrets, you know? And so, him talking about the side of hypocrisy, this is right. He should by any means and form, he should. Because those people who call themselves democratic, they shouldn't come and tell you how to rule your own people. You and your people should decide how to rule yourselves. If you find this video useful, kindly don't hesitate subscribing to the channel. Support me on Patreon. Be a member of this channel. It really helps me grow and bring you good videos to enlighten you, to become a better African and to learn more about Africa. And that is my mission on this channel. So thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Remember to stay African and support the channel, please. Give a super thanks, subscribe, support me on Patreon.